Welcome to episode 7 of the Boxing Podcast. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We are recording from the world famous Jackrabbits Boxing Gym in Long Beach, California. And on the show today we have Ivan Silv, and we also have Joe ZANDERS. I'm Garrity McOsker.
And I'm Trevor Sembrana.
Hey guys, thank you for being on the show today. We want to talk a little bit first about actually the fight that just happened. This episode is coming out on Tuesday morning. Fresh in everyone's memories will be the fight that just happened between Errol Spence Jr. and Mikey Garcia. First off, before we get there, can we get a little bit about each one of you guys?
I'm the owner of Jackrabbit Boxing. I'm
Owner and trainer of Jackrabbit Boxing.
Yeah. I'll talk a little bit about Ivan.
Yeah, talk a little bit about him, please.
Ivan's obviously, he's a fixture here in the community of Long Beach. Everybody's got to know him right now. He has, in my opinion, your son is probably, he's probably the hottest amateur in the nation. 9-time national champion, 2-time international champion. He has all the accolades. People are talking about him. We know that Floyd, for example, will stop at a show, comes over and will talk to Ashton Superman, Silv, and he's making, and obviously to recognize too that a lot of hard work and effort between a father and a son to get your son there in this position, and not to mention that too, that like we said, you have other national champions that have come here out of Jackrabbits. I have the opportunity to work with you. And so just, obviously it's been a pleasure on my part to work with you as a trainer, and also to know that besides you being a trainer, that you're very important for the community in Long Beach, particularly in the east side. And but you often don't want to talk about yourself. So that's me speaking on his behalf.
Now, Mr. ZANDERS, I want you to introduce yourself.
Well, I'm Joe ZANDERS, Coach Joe ZANDERS. I'm a member of USA Boxing. I'm the president of USA Boxing Southern California Association. I'm a chairman, I'm the director for the Region 8 Silver Glove program for 7 Western states. And I'm a coach. I coach at the Compton YL Youth Activities League gym with the Sheriff Department of Los Angeles, and deal with it every day. Boxing is what I do spend a lot of time doing, and coaching and mentoring, and counseling, doing all that kind of stuff.
What I'm really excited about today's episode is we just saw the fight between Errol Spence Jr. and you're someone who has worked with Errol Spence Jr. as coach of the USA national team for the 2012 Olympics. What did you see last night? If there's anything you wanted to share, we're excited about his progression moving forward and now as a star. Please let us know what it was like training him and what it was like last night, what you saw.
Absolutely. Well, I'd like to be able to, since I'm the president of the association here, it would be remiss if I didn't comment on Mikey as well. Mikey grew up in our association, had the good fortune of watching his brother, the first year we had the Silver Gloves program, be a part of that with Oscar De La Hoya. He was a little bit younger than Oscar, but saw the Mighty Mouse, they call him, from Oxnard. He and his teammates go through the Silver Glove program, and Robert, and then of course knew his father. Got to watch Fernando Vargas when he was the youngest guy we had to win national championships. When he was 16 years old, I was standing at ringside when he won the U.S. Nationals. So I know them pretty well, and they're good people. They're from my association, so I'm real proud of Mikey's accomplishments. And I know Earl personally. He's from Texas. We got to meet when I was national coach and U.S. Olympic coach in 2012. Earl's really, I can identify with him because I'm a Southerner, and he's a hard-working guy. You probably can hear that Southern twang when he talks. Yeah. Very, very genuine, very honest, very hard-working, and he never cheated himself in training camp. Everything he was asked to do, he did it. I think he gained a lot from what we were dealing with there. He was able to expand his game, and I thought that he demonstrated that last night and he's being taught really well. I know his coach personally, Derek James. Matter of fact, I ran into Derek, and I have to tell you this, and this is not to put down in any way to Roy, but Derek reminded me when we were at the 1988 Golden Gloves tournament in Omaha, Nebraska, that Roy Jones took 2 standing 8 counts from Joe McClellan. And I go, that's right, you were there. So I know them pretty well. They're good people. But to get back to what you're asking about, last night's bout was no surprise to me because I just thought that in the history of boxing, I've only known one person, I believe it was Henry Armstrong, who dominated 2 weight classes at the same time. I've seen people move through weight classes one at a time, like Manny, but I watched Floyd move from 125 up to where he was, but I never seen anybody just skip weight classes and go up and go after somebody like that. I figured it had to be something special. Errol Spence is a special talent. He was limited. There were some things he didn't do well going into the Olympic Games that if he had, he would have been more successful. He didn't have the kind of successful international competitions that he should have had. But that doesn't negate the fact that I watched him win the national championship about every year he was in it, and he was world class. And I think earlier, I'm reminded of some of the other people that I had the good fortune of working with, and I watched them in the pros, and when they go up against people who haven't had that level of international experience, just going out there, knowing what's out there, and then raising your skill level and having to compete against that, when you come back home, it helps you to be better. I think Earl had that last night, and aside from there are just a number of things that I thought were advantages for him. Errol Spence is left-handed. He's a solid left-hander. He has an excellent jab. For most right-handers, you got to understand that for a left-hander, he's seeing a right-hander 99.9% of the time. For a right-hander, he's not seeing a left-hander that often. And when he's faced with left-handers, you can have somebody who's a boxer who's going to try to move away from you and counterpunch you all the time, or you can get somebody like Errol Spence who can do that, but who's going to bring it to you because he's not going to allow you to back him up. Mm-hmm. And Errol, his footwork has come along really, really, really well. Derek, his coach, is doing a great job with him. And one of the things I like probably as well as everything else is he doesn't take a minute off. He trains. When we were training, I remember his coach complaining to me a little bit about not pushing him hard enough. And I like that because it tells me they're not looking to take breaks. You know, like some guys go out and throw a few hard punches and then they want to take a round off after that. It's not Earl. So he's a hard worker, strong, conditioned, mentally strong, prepared. The international competition he had as a member of the U.S. national team served him well. Being on the Olympic team served him well. He earned it. I think that when you get somebody at his level, boxing somebody like Mikey, who's really good, Mike is fundamentally sound, just like Earl, but Earl went through a lot more of hotter fire. He had to deal with guys at an international level. He had to learn how to deal with not handling it well up there.
So you think pedigree is what made the difference?
I think it makes a difference because skill development is important, and the level of challenge you have. It's like one of the things I try to tell people: don't put your boxer into a tournament in the novice division when he's good enough to be in the open class. He can win the novice division and be the champ, but when he gets against the competition at his level, he's not going to be ready because you get a false sense of security boxing against lesser competition where your skills are not challenged. And Earl's had all of that, and Mikey rose to the national level, but he didn't go to that level where Earl was.
Yeah. Definitely. Some Ivan has said to me that I thought was real interesting, which was when you're talking about the development of Earl, and I know that I had been sort of been saying, hey, look, I did think that Mikey stood a chance. A little, this is something I was very adamant about this.
By the way.
Yeah, I thought because of
It's reasonable.
Yeah,
He's good.
I said, hey, look, here's a very skilled fighter. Here's somebody that's come along the ranks. Obviously, one thing that I thought was interesting that you mentioned today that Earl did not use his size to beat Mikey last night. You want to talk about it?
I mean, it's simple. I mean, everybody thought that his size was gonna win him the bout if he won. They thought Mikey had the better skills. If Earl would win, he would be the bully. Earl wasn't the bully.
He's not a bully last night.
He didn't use his size in there. He used his boxing
Earl
skills.
can do a very much more skillful impersonation of a Sean Porter and walk you down and be very physical. Last night he wasn't making any agreements and he was outboxing Mikey.
99% of the time.
Yeah, it's hard to even say whether or not you can give Mikey a round. I guess the round would be in question would be round number 2. But in all honesty, looking at the performance last night, we all know that Earl, we should all be comfortable saying that Earl can do it all. He can box, he can walk you down, he's slick, he is a true southpaw. When he heard that Pernell Whitaker was one of the fighters that he looked up to before the fight, it didn't click at that time, but to see him being as elusive as he was last night and getting out of the range, I was like, okay, well, I can see it now. So, yeah.
Yeah.
As far as Mikey's performance, I know that some people might say that Mikey had been very adamant that he was going to come out there and press Errol, which we all heard him talking about.
None of that.
You did none of that.
Mikey did none of that. I think Mikey sold the fight. I think he sold the fight. And I think by looking at his performance last night and him walking back to the corner every time, raising his hand, pumping it, he just wanted to survive. That performance was not a performance that he was trying to win the fight. He was trying to survive. He was trying not to get knocked out.
All of us, when he's raising the hand, we're all wondering why he's raising the hand. I kept on thinking they had something cooked up in the
round
kitchen.
3, I thought, okay, so up to round 3, I was like, he's following his game plan. Because in the first several rounds, he was blocking everything really well, right? And he looked like he was strategizing. But about round 5, when I saw him still doing the fist pump, I was kind of laughing with my friends. I was like,
he was just
I love his confidence. I love Mikey Garcia also, but I love his confidence. But what is he seeing that we're not? Because I don't know why that's a fist pump.
Yeah.
It wasn't really
I was very disappointed. He had me sold that he was I never thought he was gonna win. I thought he was gonna but he had me sold that he was gonna try to box. He was gonna try to win. I didn't see none of that. My opinion is not gonna be popular, but I don't give him no credit. I don't give him no credit for stepping in the ring because he didn't try to fight. He didn't try to fight. I give Kyle Brook credit.
Yeah.
Kyle Brook went out there and tried to win.
His orbital bone was broken as a receipt of taking the fight to Earl.
Trying to win. And I was talking about the Triple G fight.
When he went up in weight.
So
what you're saying right now is you're not giving Mikey Garcia the credit that the rest of the boxing world is for going up in weight.
Because he didn't.
It's a win-win fight for him too. At the end of the day, if he gets beat by Mikey Garcia, or I'm sorry, if he gets beat by Earl, which he did, we said, well, it was because of the size, because he's so much bigger.
Yeah,
but
it's
I haven't
also
said it's not the size, right?
He's giving credit because to take that fight, a very difficult fight. Had he faced someone like Lomachenko, who I probably think
would beat him.
There should be questions now whether or not a Mikey should face a guy like Lomachenko, because they would say, well, a much smaller man might, go. And that there are some parallels that I saw last night between what Earl was able to do and Lomachenko also, who doesn't, make a lot of agreements, that isn't going to be there for a counter and is defensively minded. And that sort of falls into what you're saying with Lomachenko obviously having the pedigree that he has on an international, level. What would a possible matchup like that look for you?
Well, before I get to that, I would just say this: that it really you got to be fair, and Ivan hit on it. He talked about Earl not using the size. But in a sense, he did, because Michael could never get close. When Earl threw a jab against Lomachenko, if Earl throws it, if Lomachenko throws a jab, Mikey won't be that far away from him.
Right.
But when Earl threw a jab, it was almost like he was against Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
He never got close
He
enough
stayed
to
very
hit him. Even when he started when he initiated his attack. If you go back and look at the video, look at when he tried to catch him with a punch. He was missing this far because the guy he was in over his head size-wise. And let's be fair to him. He did a great job of selling the fight. But if like I said, if you're willing to believe that, most of us, it's like watching Floyd against McGregor. Who really got excited about that? Now we got amateurs training in the gym every day. You mentioned about Ashton. Ashton is very good. He could have given Floyd a heck of a lot better bout. Because you know why? Because he's a skilled boxer. What skills does
Conor McGregor have?
Conor McGregor have to box someone? That they should have been put in jail for making that bout.
Sucker's bought
That's a
Lock him up.
bout. Yeah,
Sucker's bought into that fight, but for a whole different reason.
Just to speak on it too, to be honest, and this is something that bothers me, is you got all these young kids that are making such a big sacrifice since they're 9 or 8 or 12. And they've earned an opportunity to finally become a professional and have a bout with someone like Floyd Mayweather. And here you have this man that's had nothing to do with boxing, that comes from mixed martial arts, and he's going to go and get himself in that lane to get that payday.
But you know what the problem is, and I'm not criticizing him. I don't blame Floyd. I'd have made the money too. Supply and demand.
Right.
That's the name of the game. they wouldn't pay to see Ashton fight against Floyd.
Right.
They would pay to see McGregor because the people in McGregor's world, this conversation that you guys know is not new. We've had this for a long time now
He's
since
white.
MMA came about.
Yeah, he's white.
MMA can. Well, I'm not gonna.
Well,
That's
I'm saying-
you gotta have
I'm
somebody
saying-
with the
It's
money
a
to
very
pay.
honest
But
it's
the
a very
MMA
good- yeah.
A
world.
lot of kids got excited to watch that fight.
It's a great
And they
white
and
hope
the,
sort
and
of
the kids in the
sentiment
McGregor
to it.
camp. The kids in the McGregor camp from the MMA world, they haven't been burnt out on pay-per-view yet.
Right.
Whereas
They-
boxing fans
they
have been burnt
actually-
out time after time of getting drained, paying for pay-per-view
Right.
fights, and the MMA world
Yeah.
had not yet experienced that
But
exhaustion.
they also thought that he could win. They thought an MMA guy could actually
they're
beat a
delusional,
boxer.
but
This-
they're
that
also-
talk has
Because
been
the
going
MMA
on.
They're also
MMA
completely
man.
unaware because they've never stepped in the ring.
Right, and so finally they
Or
get to get
octagon.
their MMA guy in there against the guy who everybody says is
Yeah,
the
top
best,
MMA guy.
and he's
Right, right,
undefeated, and they're going to give him a loss.
Another thing too that since we were talking about this fight, that drives me crazy is to know that I believe Floyd carried him. And
There's no question about that.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
No
to make
fool.
that, to let the, you know
knock
what I'm
him
saying?
out the first
But
round,
the
that
general
would be good.
public don't know that Floyd carried him. And
Well,
so,
the announcers didn't know
I
either.
saw
They
the-
thought the guy was doing well.
I did see people tweeting saying that, like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
round was that? What round?
I think you got stopped in the
9 or
7th or
10?
8th. I don't know.
7th or 8th.
Yeah,
7th
something
or
like
8th,
that,
okay.
yeah.
So I saw people saying like, "Wow, Floyd made it to let's say
Yeah.
8 or whatever." Floyd made, McGregor made it to 8.
Who's the
Would Floyd
Japanese
make
guy?
it through 2 in an octagon?
He just fought,
They don't
uh,
understand that he was allowing that to happen.
Yeah,
Right.
he was entertaining the
It-
crowd.
yeah, you have to
Giving
give
them
them
hope.
something. If they all
Give
paid
it-
$100 a pop for the
Yeah.
pay-per-view, you got to give them something.
Got to give him
Yeah,
something.
you spend money, you don't
Oh,
want it to
man.
end.
Yeah.
It's like the night I was at George was it Cooney and Holmes?
Right.
And Cooney Holmes hit Cooney in the first round. He went down. I said, "Get up! I spent $100 to get in." I don't want to get on the first round, man. He got to stay up.
Okay.
That's
Don't
all right.
worry about it.
So,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one thing though. Just looking at the fight last night. The one thing I do want to say is a good night for boxing, because we all have to agree that as far as how they were capturing boxing, how Fox did it in PBC, man, it was a beautiful
Production
show.
was great.
It was that's the platforms you want to see boxing on.
Right.
The visuals,
Right.
the way they're capturing the video, the lights, everything that was going. Jerry being involved. But it gets you excited, thinking, hey, you know what? The sentiment's being expressed that boxing's dying. Come on.
But
No.
you're talking about it from an aesthetic standpoint.
From-
You're not
this
talking
is
about it from a pay-per-view versus
This is just
versus new model
a
standpoint.
beautiful show that went on last night. I'm gonna go out and say this is the prettiest show that I've ever seen involved in boxing.
It's
As far
Jerry's
as
world, dude.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why.
As
That's
far
why.
as seeing
It's
how
something
they capture
different. Everything higher standard when you get into that stadium.
Yes.
Yeah.
I kind of like the fact that they had pay-per-view. The only thing I wish that with worldwide pay-per-view, I wish that it could be so that we could all afford it. Some people
Right,
couldn't
yeah.
afford to see that last night. And if pay-per-view, and I understand everybody's got to get paid, but you don't have to be greedy. And I think it could be done for a lot cheaper than what they did. And if they do that, it'd be a lot better. But on the subject of the boxing match, you raised some issues about the skills and stuff like that. I think Mikey showed a really lot of great skill, because I thought that he defended well against some of the punches that he could have been
He was blocking
hurt
everything
with.
in the beginning.
He was
before he
defending
got
quite
overwhelmed.
well. I thought
Yeah.
for the most part he did well. He just broke down. Because Earl changed his attack a little bit. He went to the body. When he started varying his attack, it became more difficult to defend. And he was trying to get in position to go after her. He really tried a couple of times to do something, but there was nothing there for him, because Earl's defensive skills was as good as his offensive skills, so he couldn't hit him like he thought he could. And a left-handed boxer stands at a bad angle, and unless you know what you're doing and you really know how to do it, and it's tough. And even when you think you know what you're doing, with somebody that know what they're doing, it's tough. And last night was a classic example of that. And him being bigger did make a difference at the end, because he really tried to get after him. And I knew I was waiting. I said, so I know they're going to tell him. I'm thinking that they're going to tell him, okay, now you're going to have to go get him. And when he tried, this is going to be great, because Earl didn't want to have to worry about doing anything. Not only that, you're looking to see, well, what is his strategy? I never saw the strategy. I heard them say counterpunching, but I never saw him try to actually execute that in the way that I thought he should against a left-hander.
Who was that, Mikey?
Mikey,
Robert
because
Garcia.
you boxing against a left-hander, you got to make him work. You got to back him up, and when he tried to do that, Earl would just turn the corner on him, which meant that he was at a bad angle all night long.
Right.
And so he wasn't bad defensively. He just was overwhelmed.
No, he
with
was
what
great
happened.
defensively.
Yeah.
That's all he did all night was defend.
Something that Ivan is.
Defend better than everyone else in
wanna
that
ask-
position.
I wanna
ask-
No one else defends as well.
Yeah.
No, he
to
was
fight a
great.
guy 2 weight classes up
Yeah,
and
that's-
last
He
the
was
12.
great
I don't
defensively.
see anyone else doing that.
The more you watch it, the more I was wondering from the beginning, why are they doing this?
Right.
I know Earl, and I know Mikey, I see him here, but there's something that I'm missing, and the more it went on, I'm thinking somebody could end up in jail behind this because this guy is not going to have a chance against a dude 2 weight classes big and world class.
Some Ivan, I want to ask you, Ivan, because I know you're keeping it real, right? You think this changes Mikey Garcia as a fighter because his soul got sort of stole last night, or?
Definitely. I think it definitely changes Mikey Garcia. I mean, he took a lot of punishment towards the end of the fight.
Towards the end of the fight, he did.
He took a lot of punishment. You know, I think his soul was taken.
His soul-
You can see it. You can see it in his eyes. He definitely. It wasn't snatched like Kyle Brooks was snatched,
Right.
Because he didn't take as much. But I definitely think he's going to be a different fighter after this.
When I think about fighters getting their soul taken, you know, Ricky Hatton comes to mind, and everybody's judging. You know, Ricky Hatton's lost to Manny Pacquiao afterwards. But I said, well, listen,
But he got taken from
he
Floyd.
got taken from Floyd, exactly. So, but something that I had picked your brain about it before we got in here, and you think he might go about it the way that Canelo did with Floyd, which is that he might walk away and be a smarter fighter.
I think you have to recognize something, whether anyone ever admits this to us or not. Mikey knew what he was facing, and he knew that it's almost like if I'm going to race against the fastest guy in the world, I already know what's going to happen in the 100-meter dash.
Right.
So when he beats me, it's not going to change what I could do against someone else. So I know I've said that he thought he took a lot of punches. He did, but he's a boxer. And how many times have you seen Mikey take punches?
Yeah.
I haven't seen him take punches. So if he got taken a little bit of a beating last night,
Not like
it was
that.
more. It was more. It wasn't the kind of beat down where he was demoralized. I think that they were at the point of wanting to
They
stop
were
it.
getting close to when Earl was measuring.
Yeah.
And they'd
Yeah.
warned him for the measure off
Right.
the head.
Right, but you got to remember, Earl kind of let him off the hook until
He
the
did.
end when he went
Yeah.
after. He
He
really
did.
didn't go after him like he could
He
have,
did.
except for right in that one stretch. He fought a smart, intelligent match,
Right. Which was being expressed in the corner by
Exactly.
the demand of staying patient.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Derek kept
Derek kept telling them stay
Be
patient,
patient, be patient.
which is what you want to hear from the coach, because some coaches get excited. Oh, you can go out there now and knock him out.
Right.
He never told him that. He told him to stay patient. Don't get excited. You have to stay within the stage that you're on. Don't worry about the stage that they try to create in the media, because you have one here that you deal with every day. And he did that. He stayed within that. But I give Mikey a lot of credit. I think he's going to be a better boxer from this, because he is not going to be facing Errol Spence or anybody where if he hit him, nothing is going to happen.
You think Mikey goes down from here? He goes back?
Yeah, well,
Absolutely.
I don't think he
Absolutely.
want to mess around with any of the other guys up there.
Yeah,
I would
absolutely.
imagine
you got to deal with Terrence Crawford.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to deal with Terrence
deal
Crawford.
with that.
You want to
no.
deal with that.
And so you and I have always, just to be honest, I thought that I was favoring Terrence Crawford with the match versus Earl, but seeing Earl's performance last night, I really don't know anymore.
I'm still favoring.
You're still
As of right
Yeah,
now,
I still think Terrence Crawford.
I think Terrence Crawford have more tools in his belt right now. Give it a year and a half to 2 years, I'm giving it to Earl, because I think Terrence I think he's at his prime right now. I think if they fight this year, early next year, he has it. Wait him
They're
out.
both incredible fighters. Obviously, Terrence is doing things that we haven't seen before. I think that when history looks back at him, we're going to be looking over at videos and trying to figure out what exactly his consciousness and his approach to boxing. And it's something that it's a mixture of a lot of things. Most people say you have one of the most athletic fighters right now in boxing, which is probably Terrence Crawford. But it's also that there is some discipline. There's some sweet science behind it, and it's not like Roy. And I do think there's some longevity in it. And only what I mean by that with Roy Jones Jr. is if Roy Jones Jr. was 28 today, he would still be undefeated. But because he was so highly dependent on athleticism in his skill set versus discipline, or not say discipline, but refining his craft is probably more appropriate. that's why when he got older he ended up getting clipped. With Terrence Crawford, I see a mixture of athleticism and craft, and that makes me very excited about him. And I expect Terrence to be dominant for the next 3 or 5 years. But yeah, this is a dream matchup that's coming to fruition. So
yeah, well, you make the point about Roy. I happen to be the unfortunate coach who had a chance. My guy Ray McElroy from Long Beach, California, boxed against him twice, and we thought that we'd gotten a decision, but then didn't go our way. The first time in the 1987 National Golden Glove in Knoxville, Tennessee, we're down in his part of the country with Ace Miller, who's the head of the Golden Gloves in the South, and it took him about 5 minutes after the bout ended to make the decision, and Roy got it. And then at the
well, USA Boxing's always been USA Boxing.
At the Olympic trials in '88. But with that said, I love Roy. He's a good guy. I always liked him. Last time I saw, I think I haven't seen him in person since the '98 Goodwill games. But we talked the last time I saw him. But he does, by the way, did a great job with HBO, and I wish they would hire him with the other people because I think he does a great job as a color analyst. Roy, like you said, is very athletic. He's a great athlete. I think he could have been a basketball player, could have been a college basketball player.
He got his pair of Jordans, though.
Huh?
Even though he wasn't a basketball player, he still got his pair of Jordans.
Yeah. He's a great athlete. I think, though, that when you look at boxers, and when you look at the sport of boxing, you look at people developing the skill. For example, in the defensive area, you're dealing with 3 areas. You're dealing with your hands, you're dealing with your body, and you're dealing with your feet. When you look at Roy's defense, he used his hands and his feet. He kept his hands up and he moved. He didn't give you the breaking at the waist, the going under and out a lot. He was a different kind of boxer, and he did not have a world-class jab. He probably started doing it a little bit later on, but he didn't. We boxed him. My kid had a world-class jab, and I thought we were doing a pretty good job of controlling him because of that. Because the first time I met Roy, it was in Knoxville, first time I saw him, we were at the National Golden Glove Tournament, and Monday night we boxed. We were 156, he was 156. My guy boxed, we won on decision, and we're sitting in the stand watching him box, and he goes, boom, lead left hook. Guy's down and going, wow. Knocked out. I didn't know who he was. I didn't realize he was in our weight class. Then the next night I knew he was, did the same thing. Boom. Going, that didn't even look real. Then the next night, he had a guy that my kid had beaten from Nevada, from Las Vegas in our senior regional. We'd beaten him a couple of times. He goes out there against him, and I thought, let me see how he does against this guy. Boom! Catches him with a lead left hook. The only punch he threw. Knocked him out. That guy's for real. And we're in different ends of the bracket. Thursday night, boom, same thing. And I knew we had to box him on Saturday. So we've been working on things. We knew how to handle stuff like that. First of all, in amateurs, you got to keep your hands up. You can't walk around with your hands down unless you want some chin music. So when we went out, I told my guys, hey, he's going to try the same thing against you. You know what you got to do. So we worked on it on Friday. We had a day off. Saturday we came in. And sure enough, about 20 seconds into the match, boom, we hit him on the glove like that. My guy counted him off the block. Royce
took off running.
Never caught him. At the end, I told him when he came to the corner, I said, Ray, you're not going to get the decision. Don't be upset, man. So you know who we are?
Yeah.
So, and I'm just saying, I just called it like I saw it. I thought we did more than enough to win. We wrapped him with the jab. We didn't try to load up on him, but he wasn't throwing nothing, but he won.
No, I know both of you guys are involved. I'm sorry. I know both of you guys are involved with USA Boxing Select.
Yeah.
And so can you guys want to speak on? So, in my sort of opinion is that this is saying, hey, we're looking at USA Boxing. There's a lot of politics that are involved in USA Boxing. Here we are talking about Roy, and your fighter that should have probably gotten the nod and not getting the nod. And is USA Select something that's out there that, and can you talk about USA
Select? First
Select?
of all, I'm less aware than he is. Explain to me and all the listeners and viewers who wouldn't know, what is USA Select?
It's an international traveling team. What do we put the team together to try to get these kids that don't get on the USA team exposure internationally. I mean, as you know, we face the nationals how many times a year? How many times we have nationals? 4 or 5 times a year. We see the same kids over and over. I mean, you beating the same kids over and over. it's a whole nother world out there. So what we do in the summertime, we take these kids traveling to 2 or 3 different countries, just give them a different look, try to give them more experience.
Show them what the international styles.
It's
are
an
out there.
international
Yeah.
traveling team.
Is this kind of in response to some decisions that you've seen through USA? I mean, it's all sports, so it's not going to just be USA Boxing. I mean, even I've gotten bored of watching ice skating before, but I obviously don't know what the criteria is. But you know that favorites exist in whatever sport it is, specifically when it ends up in the hands of the judges. If there hasn't been a stoppage, is this kind of saying, hey, look, these are young men that we're trying to get, that our intent is to get them the experience, or is it a response to saying, hey, you and I had a conversation about this at Denny's, saying that there hasn't been a successful USA Boxing Olympic team now in quite some time.
Right.
Last male with the gold medal was Andre Ward.
That's right.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
I can address that. I think it's appropriate to say that what Coach Ivan and the guys did last year and the last few years, and I'm honored to be a part of it, is giving kids with the potential to be successful boxers a chance to just experience what it's like to go against international. And what we do is deal with club competition. We're not representing USA Boxing and international competition because they're the only ones who can do that. Right. They represent the country, and we respect that, and hopefully some of these guys will be on their team when they get to that age. But to wait until you're 19, 20 years old and may never get into international competition, and then you have a chance and you go, and let's just say this year somebody goes and they qualify for the Olympic trials, and they win the Olympic trials, and they have no international competition. They don't know what to expect. They don't know how to train for the international. Even if they're training them at the training center, they've never seen it. Most of the foreign boxers have been exposed to international competition because if you're from Germany, you might speak 4 or 5 languages, and you have, just like we border on Arizona, they border on each other and they go box each other. We don't get to do that. And they are involved in much more international competition. You get somebody like Ashton, he's just seeing the same guys at the JOs every year in the silver gloves, and then he goes to the national tournament, which they have. You keep seeing the same people over and over. You're seeing the American style. You're not seeing anything different. You have no idea what it's like when you go against somebody from another country. So the tournament we went to in Ireland, for example, they have had a lot of, you notice how well the Welsh, the Irish, the English have started to do in the Olympic Games. There was guys at that tournament last year that's going to be on the team this year, next year rather, from Great Britain, because I saw some that I think are good enough to be there, and they're some of the best kids that I've seen. And that's how you get good. You have to box against people that challenge your skills. And when you just keep boxing at a level that you're familiar with, and then you mentioned before about the politics, and it's not intended, I don't think, but it's just that if I know you got a reputation and I'm a judge, unless the guy does something that's devastating to you, especially if I've talked to your coach and he's taking a picture with me, and now I'm kind of leaning towards you, you're going to win.
It is a natural
because you
got
the
reputation.
Yeah,
it's
human nature.
It's
not about
just
politics. So I think having these young fellas have a chance and girls have a chance to go out and compete against international club competition. They're going to see people who are going to make it to that level, and coming back home, they're able to train. And not only that, and the important thing for us too is that Ivan and the other coaches who's never got a chance to coach at the national level get a chance to see the international competition as well, because you don't know how to train the guy unless the kids, unless you have a chance to see what they need to go, what you need to work with them on.
Especially at international.
You don't know. We go to training camp, and what do? Because basically boxing is just like any other sport. It's about fundamentals. If you're teaching the fundamentals, you cover the bases. You just got to know the tendencies of the people you're dealing with. Just like any national competition, you tell me what coaches are from, I can kind of give you an idea of what you need to look for. And so in international competition, it's the same way. If you got the Russians, if you got the English, if you got the Italians, if you got the French, we should have some idea of what we're facing, what their tendencies are. And you're going to see them because we're all human, and they know us. They'll get on the bus with you and ask you, hey, where's Ashton Sill?
Right.
He's not here. They know who he is.
Yeah.
Our boxers we're not familiar because the names sound so distant from us. We don't understand how to say their names, so we don't have that same.
Especially
kind of
today
approach.
with social media, these kids all know each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a great opportunity. The program that we have going is a great opportunity for young fellas who and when we give guys a chance to make the team. So we're looking for kids with some talent because let's not fool ourselves. You can take anybody you want over there, but the bottom line is that they don't have the talent. They're not going to be able to compete at that level.
Not at that level.
That's the unfortunate thing that we face today in this world. So the program is a tremendous program because it actually gives kids a chance to see competition worldwide. And we have people at that tournament from all over that part of the world. I was amazed at how many people were there from all the different countries. And if you don't grow from that, you're not going to grow.
Well, they're the same coaches. They're eager to get international experience as well with the Americans.
Exactly.
So it's reciprocated.
Yeah, you see how they train. You see the mentality that they approach. I was amazed at some of the young guys. You know, a guy get in the ring and he winks at me like this. Like, wow, that's confidence. That's hard work.
Right.
You got kids that I watch kids do the Ali shuffle throughout their bout.
Right.
I mean, that's how dedicated they are to what they do.
Right.
And I watch them do a lot of things that we identify as American. They've embraced that with what they do. And our kids need to be able to see that, and they need to be able to see where they can gain from these boxers. And I think it's a tremendous program that a lot of our kids should have the opportunity to experience.
Running in full circle back to the fights last night, Benavidez.
Benavidez was a beast last night, and he had the right opponent. By the way, what's his opponent? Javion. I know Jay. You know, when Dorian was winning national championships back to back, Javion would be at the nationals watching us win. He never got to the finals. So he was talking all that stuff to Benavidez the other day. I'm thinking, boy, he must have improved since then. I hope he has, doing all this talk. Well, of course he didn't, because you saw what happened. He's a nice guy, but he had no chance against Benavidez. Benavidez is a skilled boxer. He can punch. And he's a good guy,
Also, been growing up, he's been doing it since he was a kid, right? I mean,
who is that?
Benavidez.
He's been boxing since he was a little guy.
Yes, as a little guy.
So,
Yeah.
Different under, probably since he was under 10 or 9.
I think I don't know how. I think he boxed as a youngster. When he was in single digits.
He started making noise at wild card when he was 15.
Yeah, he was bigger.
He's a long guy, right?
But I know now. No, he's
No,
from Arizona.
Yeah, from Arizona.
Yeah, he might have boxed in our Silver Glove program. I have to remember. I can't remember now. But these kids, he has a lot of experience, and he was ready. I don't know. I guess he got himself in trouble last year and lost his title, and he's upset. It'll be an interesting bout between he and Anthony Durrell. That's who he's after. I think he said he wanted his belt back.
Durrell got his belt.
Yeah.
I don't see nobody. I don't
see Durrell giving him only because of the fight with I'll say the last name wrong. Uzbekati and Durrell.
Yeah, I'm
and Caleb.
I don't see nobody.
Caleb Plants. By the way, this is another kid that I worked with, Caleb Plant. And Durrell, I didn't work with Anthony. He was in camp with us in 2011. Very good guys, very good boxer. I worked with Caleb, and I had him in a training camp early in the year. Was it 2010? I can't remember now, but Caleb is a very good boxer. And what you saw him do in that championship fight was no fluke.
But see,
he's very capable
with the fight though. Listen. I would have been completely sold on him. But I would have been completely sold on Caleb, and I would have put him in a small list of white boys that I believe can fight. Just keeping it real. But
it's a great club if you can ever get a part of it. Someday,
So, but I'm saying if he would have controlled about 2 or 3 more rounds with Uzbekati, but I thought at the end it was a little bit of a tug of war. Because I would have signed off on him like, hey, this guy's the real deal. There's things that he does that remind me of Andre Ward, things that he does that remind me of Bernard Hopkins. He's a slick fighter. He can box. But there were moments in that bout where I do start seeing a little bit of tug of war where I thought he was losing control. And in that way, if I'm thinking about a Benavidez and a possibility of fighting Caleb, I'm leaning towards Benavidez. Stylistically, who do I want to watch someone shake somebody down or break them or feint them? Or check hook them. No, I like Caleb Plant. Realistically, when I'm looking at someone like Benavidez with that physical, what I saw last night, and that's just keeping it real.
Well, you got to remember, first of all, he was boxing against a stand-up fighter who obviously didn't have the skills to deal with him. He talked himself into he wrote a check that he couldn't cash. And I think in fairness to boxing, let's be fair to Caleb. Caleb has got skills, and Caleb can do it with his feet and with his hands and with
He's
his body.
been at the waist too.
The last opponent probably was thinking like you. If I remember right, he ended up stopping that opponent.
No,
he didn't stop him. I thought
stop him.
Did he go to distance?
Yes.
I remember
that
he
was
hit the
the
guy.
one at the Microsoft Center.
The Microsoft. It just
The one that he just won the title?
2 months ago.
from-
He didn't stop him.
No,
I thought he
he
stopped
stopped
him.
him.
He dropped him.
Oh, he dropped him. That's
Yes.
right. The guy.
Dropped him
Yeah.
twice-
Well,
dropped him
I'm going
twice
to tell you
early.
because the difference that you're going to see when you see a boxer against, a person against one individual, you can't transfer that to somebody else because just like with Mikey will be successful with other guys because they don't offer him what Errol offers him. Like he said, Errol kind of mirrors him to the degree that you watch Mikey. Sometime when Errol would throw a jab at him, he'd go out, he'd step in the bucket. He was able to make Errol miss a few times, and Errol figured him out. But he does that to other people. No one ever does that to him the way Earl was doing him.
Oh, nobody. No.
See, and so when the situation changes, he's not the same guy. And when Earl was the same guy, but he wasn't. And what I'm telling you is Caleb, with his foot movement, is going to create a special kind of problem for Benavidez, which he didn't have to face last night. He looked great last night because he didn't have to face it. What did my man do? He cut down his escape route to 3 directions. He could have gone to Benavidez, gone to the right, or gone to the left. The rope was at his back. He created that situation. My man isn't going to create that situation. He's not going to do that. So it'll be a different fight.
It's a great matchup.
He can get some respect when he hits you. It ain't because you're just not going to walk up to him and plant the body shot on him like that.
One thing about Caleb is I think that watching the bout that he did have against Uzbekati, that not knowing that he could punch like that he keeps you very honest.
The guy didn't know he could punch like that. That's why he went after him.
But it's also to know that there's something about just when I think about Benavidez's physical stature and how much space that he takes up in his stance, and knowing that sometimes guys that are cutting angles to get on the side of a guy that's big like that.
The problem is we haven't seen how good his defense is.
Yeah.
See, you can say all about.
We talking about
like Mike
Benavidez,
Tyson
though.
said, but like Mike Tyson
until
said,
he gets hit.
until you get hit, you have all the plans you want. What he did to the kid last night is not Caleb Plant.
Yeah.
Caleb is a better defender and a better puncher and a better boxer, and he's quicker.
Well, we all want
Benavidez
Caleb.
is not going to be as fast as him. I can tell you that right now. I watched the kid at camp. He was in there with some really good people. And he's Caleb Plant. I had him in camp. He's a white kid from the South. You never know what to expect. You figure you can expect a certain thing. But he showed me something. He showed me something when we were playing basketball. He can play basketball.
So he's a raw athlete.
He's an athlete, man. The guy's good. And his father's a good man. They work hard. They don't take no shortcuts. I know a little bit about his story. And I like Benavidez too, but I'm just being fair. I don't know that he has an edge over Caleb. I think that is going to be a very interesting.
Now we got to say, you've worked with him, and so when you're looking at Caleb, for me, you want to be, everything about his story, you're gonna like a lot. I mean, even down to the fact that he proposed to his fiance after the fight, right? Yeah. It doesn't get more magical.
That was all American.
Yeah. You're like sitting there. You're like saying, hey man, this is this is a guy you want to get behind. But
he's a good dude.
But I was saying, when I saw last night with Benavidez, and not saying that you're wrong, but I saw something that I said, man, this is a force.
He's a beast. I like Benavidez.
It's also that I was seeing him turn, that when Jay Leon did bend at the waist and try to go for a bump on to clear out some space, that I saw him and I think Mancini that he took an angle immediately, met him up with a left uppercut. And also to know too, even that he was getting warned for being physical by the measuring and the physical touches that he had. And so in my head, I'm thinking about slick fighters and when they're doing things that also, you can be a slick fighter, you're defensively doing something to get out of the way, but there's also an agreement with the other fighter that's facing you that just doesn't say, hey, I'm gonna put this elbow in your back, or I'm going to put this, hand on your neck and push you down. But it's an incredible matchup. But you got me thinking, though.
Well, I would just tell you, don't put your money on Benavidez just yet. Just let's see what they do. I mean, don't think Caleb is going to be a pushover. It won't be like last night.
I know one thing, Caleb in that bout, that like I said, there was moments for about 7 rounds where I just, and I thought that Uzbekati, just to be honest, I didn't put a lot of time into watching Caleb Plant fight. Lead up, I'd seen Uzbekati fight Darrell before. You know,
Took a punch.
He took a punch from the uncle. I don't know.
Yo, if you got chin like that, you never second guess a
If
guy
a
like
man could take a brick like that to the, you know, he got my vote, right? I was
that's the guy. Yeah, okay.
So I was 100. I said, man, you know, how do you not? I said, shit, he took everything. He took everything and the kitchen sink from the uncle.
Yeah.
So
That's the best punch you got hit with. Huh?
yeah, oh man, that's a cool. So I thought to myself, well, you know, there must be something there, but what Caleb did. So yeah, but like you said, maybe I'm going to reassess my opinion.
Well, the only thing I would tell you when you look at boxing, you look at a guy who's a huge puncher. Look at the opponents. You have to check things like reflexes, speed, and quickness. All those things have to be assessed, and also you have to do a little examination of the chin.
Mm-hmm.
My dad always told me a champion's no greater than his chin.
Right.
Caleb, if he gets hit, I've seen him take some shots. He don't take a lot of them because he's slick. He's not going to let you just hit him.
Slick.
He has an excellent jab, and he knows how to use it. He knows how to change the speeds on his jab and stuff like that. And he puts his punches together pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not gonna
Seems
wear
like he's
out
only
this.
getting better too.
Yeah.
Caleb,
I'm sure
he's
that
growing.
he gained some
He's
confidence.
growing,
When you think about the fact that he beat, I believe he beat. This is the guy that boxed Andre Darrell. That he boxed.
Oh yeah.
That he had Andre Darrell on the
He
run
was
for the whole
out,
match,
yeah.
and yet Caleb didn't seem to have any problems keeping him off. So when you talk about Benavidez, the same kind of fighter, pressure kind of fighter, who's going to bring it to you, he might have a little bit of an issue just standing in front of Caleb like that. He's going to have to show some signs of respect.
Yeah.
How far do you think that fight is off? How far from now do you think we see a Caleb Plant Benavidez matchup?
I'm hoping next year.
Well, there's talk about who's he going to box.
He won his belt back.
Is he going to box Benavidez, or he's going to box Anthony Darrell, or who? There's several guys there. Who's going to box him?
Darrell was there. He won his belt back.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to.
They had the interview with Darrell last night too. Obviously, probably alluding to a little bit of a build-up.
Well, not only not to cut you off, but the thing about you got to remember the guy Anthony beat it may be entitled to a rematch too. Mm-hmm. There was some question about that.
I didn't see that.
Battle. I saw the battle.
Talking about bringing up alluding, obviously, Earl called Manny Pacquiao into the ring.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah. You guys want to speak on speak?
I think it'd be a great.
You
battle.
want to make a payday, man? You better do it. He's
I
there.
think it'll
He's
be
there for a
great. I think
reason.
it'll be
Even though his suit wasn't pressed and it was had lint on it, but
We call it prize fighting for a reason.
yeah.
For Earl Spence or whoever can get this shot, Errol Spence, John Porter, and by the way, you guys haven't mentioned one of my main men. I haven't seen him in a long time. I talked to him, Danny Garcia. Danny's a really good fighter, and we haven't talked about him. So you got some guys in that welterweight class, and the guy I have a lot of respect for as well as one time.
He's over here shaking his head about Danny Garcia.
Hey, listen, I know Danny Garcia from
April
the amateurs.
20th,
I tried to beg him to stay
Everybody
on.
says the same thing about Danny Garcia.
Danny's a really
which
good.
is he
he's
figures
world
out
class.
a way to win.
He's
This-
world class.
Not anymore.
But yeah,
You don't think so?
No.
I think Danny's world class. I don't know what happened to him.
fight in the Peterson fight.
Won that one back. He
Those
should've been ran that one back.
those two fights obviously.
Well,
leave anybody involved in boxing sore because I thought that he lost
Yeah.
against Peterson.
I mean,
I thought that he lost against
Something, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what happened to him, but maybe 2 or 3 matches he had. But Danny's a real good fighter.
No,
Oh, yeah.
he's not a bum.
I'll
He's
tell
not a
you one
pushover.
thing.
I just in the 47. I think he over his head in 47.
You think he is?
I think he.
Danny can punch.
He lost against Porter, right?
Yeah, but that match was.
No, that was a good.
It wasn't a one-sided match,
No, it
though.
wasn't, but I'm just saying.
could argue the other way.
Porter is in the lower echelons of the 147. I don't.
When I think about Danny Garcia,
But Sean's a good athlete.
He is.
He's a good athlete. You know, Sean's really a football player.
He's a football player.
You know, he weighed 165 in amateur so he could play football, and he still managed to knock people out.
Is that
He was
right?
beat. He was in the Olympic trial.
Yeah,
he was
but-
that good. Who's really a 147 pounder,
Wow, okay.
boxing at 165.
You
Sean-
watched Sean
That's
fight with
something I didn't
Lucas?
know.
The last guy he fought?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually I saw a little bit of it on the phone, and I was following the score when they were showing the punch count and all that stuff. That's most of
the fight we were.
Ugas in Carson.
Ugas. Oh, okay.
I know that some people told me that they thought he lost. When I looked
don't
what
think
I
so.
saw, I thought that you could think that because it's like this. If I watch Muhammad Ali and he doesn't dance around and use that jab, I might not think much of his performance because
Right.
what I'm expecting is to see him do what I know him as. And so when Sean doesn't come diving in like he always does, I think most people is not going to be happy with his performance. They're going to question why he's doing it.
Sean showed me more.
Yeah.
I mean, no, he definitely showed me more.
He developed more of his craft. I mean,
it started in a Danny Garcia fight. I
Right.
seen a little bit. He tried to box in Danny Garcia. He did box.
he was boxing well against Ugas.
Yeah.
And Ugas a heavy puncher.
But I don't think he lost that that fight.
He's
I think-
fading into the distance, out of the distance.
Well,
think
the
he won
punch count
all the
showed that
close
he
rounds.
won.
Yeah, I think it was
Because he was
close
like 10 or
rounds,
12 punches
but
ahead
I
when it
believe
ended.
He won all the close rounds.
You
Yeah.
got to beat a champion. It has to have a certain look
Decisive.
to it.
It has to be decisive.
And not to mention, not to take any way away from this, and Ugas that's behind him. But what I saw is a close fight. But I still thought that Sean Porter had maybe 7 or 8 of the rounds.
yeah.
Not only that, you got to go get the title if you want
You
it.
have
Yeah.
to go get
Nobody
it.
should get. You shouldn't be winning on a split decision the world
Yeah.
title. And some people seem to be agreeable to stuff like that. I don't see that as viable. If you're champion, you should go win it. You shouldn't have to
take
give
that,
it to
yeah.
you.
With having you here, obviously, be a pleasure to just see your take on Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder.
Oh, I was there. We were at the fight.
Yeah.
It was a great fight. We got to see, I think, DeAndre under different circumstances with a guy bigger than him that's sort of a boxer. He got lulled into buying into what Tyson was selling and hesitated when he could have done more. But he doesn't get credit for his big punches.
Oh yeah.
He hurt Tyson, which made the fight at that point for me. And he just got lulled. And I knew when he was getting lulled into waiting around the way he was, it could have cost him the match. But I thought he did enough. And I guess me and a few other people thought that there was a long count with that when Tyson was down. But maybe it wasn't. I never went back to bother to look at it, but I just thought, man, it seemed like that count should have been over. He should have been out.
I went and looked at it, and I'm gonna tell you that it was. It's one of these. I'd been in the corner when Malik Scott had fought Derek Chisora, and he got counted out at 9.
Wow.
Yeah, so it literally, it's like 8 and 9, and he's getting up, he's counted out. It's hard. I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, especially the refs that night. You can imagine you got the responsibility to do the count. No one was expecting Tyson Fury to have literally that resurrection, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like he was
got up like the
Shocking. He
Undertaker.
looked dead.
He looked like he was
Somebody woke him
dead.
up.
You know what I'm saying? So the one
The
thing I would
Undertaker
say
memes
about
the
it
next day, dude.
is that when we're looking at, we're thinking about a great who won that night, which was boxing. You think, and the fact is that he got up. That if it had been a half second or not, and I don't know. It looks like it was like right there for me. I was comfortable with it. The one thing that I said is I'm glad that he got up. I'm glad they let the fight go on, and I'm glad that whatever was going on in Tyson Fury to put the fight back in him and let his hands go, which was amazing to me.
Yeah.
I have said this on the show, although a couple people have disagreed with me, is I think if there's a rematch, I do see Deontay doing something similar to that he did with Bermain Stavern, which is going out there and seeking and destroying. If there's the rematch between Tyson Fury and Deontay, I know right now that there's something going on between, there's all kinds of.
Looks like we'll know about by the time this episode comes out. We'll already know.
He said no to DAZN. Deontay Wilder said no to DAZN.
No. On Monday he's coming out with a press release.
Yeah.
And we'll
There's
see
all
what
kinds
it
of
But
musical
last
chairs.
night he was smiling big time when he was being asked questions. He gives me a hopeful sense that the negotiations between him and
Did you hear
DAZN
about
went well.
that offer?
With the zone?
Yeah.
I heard somebody
What was it,
alluded to it,
100
but
million
$100
for
million
three
you got
fights?
to
for
take
3
that,
fights.
man.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
take that.
Man.
You got to take
Incredible
that
money.
It
money.
looked like he did. The way she was saying it is like, is there good news on the horizon or
But-
whatever?
but
And he was like
it-
smiling.
The only
like,
thing,
Al Heyman is treating people well, though.
yeah. But with
You find a way to beat that one.
Yeah. If you find a way to, and if anybody can beat it, and
does that necessarily mean he's done with Al Heyman though? I don't think so.
I don't
No,
know.
no,
I don't think it does. So I don't know what you're getting into.
Yeah,
I don't-
He would still be his manager. Advisor or
advisor,
whatever. He would
yeah,
still be
yeah.
there.
it's just a promotional contract.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, 3
TV.
fights.
It's more for the network.
Who was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing
I'm
about
messing it up.
DeAndre, he talked about his last match. I just think that looking at what he did, his performance, he's waiting for the big punch too much. In that fight with Tyson, I thought he was waiting for the big punch, and he didn't. If it's not a huge punch and he can't throw it, he needed to work on his jab where he doesn't have to load up all the time. Just make sure he can touch the guy, because sometimes he's missing because it's always the big punch, and you shouldn't sell out every time you throw a punch. You should be able to punch and defend yourself. And sometimes I thought he hesitated because he wasn't sure he could defend himself. And if Tyson threw punches, he's like this, and he never counted him. These are things that he got to do against a Joshua. I know Joshua I met him at the World Championship. I watched him box the #1 guy in the world when he only had like 15 matches. We're at the World Championship, man. This boy from Italy, who's #1 at I can't remember his name now, but hey, he destroyed him that night. I couldn't believe it. And then when they told me he only had 15 matches, you kidding me? This guy's good. And they robbed him in the finals against
Anthony Joshua.
Anthony Joshua.
Yeah. There's some parallels though, because both of them don't have a lot of amateur experience, right? And then
but
Deontay got the bronze, and
Anthony
then
spent
Joshua
a lot
got the
of
gold.
time in the camps with the English team. And they really, really worked with him.
And Klitschko.
And he stayed. But
as a professional.
Unfortunately for DeAndre, he was in camp for the Olympic trials and during the year during the period going to the Olympic, getting ready to go to the games. But he was a ranked green boxer. He didn't have enough time. Anthony was with the team several years, I believe, because we met him in 2011, and he'd been with the team for a period of time already. So, and they have a tremendous team. They got therapists, masseuse, everything they need with the team. The American team don't have all that stuff. And so, he's had the benefit of some great help, some really good trainers over there that do a really great job. Our kids are not with the coaches that long, and so there's a huge difference in the polishing of Joshua and DeAndre.
When I first saw Anthony Joshua, and this is kind of just keeping it real, right? It's kind of crazy. When you see this guy, first of all, he's got one of the best bodies in boxing that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it's just crazy.
Looks like the Hulk.
Yeah, he's a good-looking kid. He's handsome. And Malik Scott was in camp with him for a Klitschko fight. And I said, "What's his deal? Because you kind of wanted. What I wanted to hear back was, he's lazy. He's not paying attention. He's on the social media." What I heard back was just the opposite. Man, this kid's got his head, screwed on tight. He still lives with his mama. He goes to sleep. He's eating right. He trains all day. He does the drills and so forth. And part of it, you want to hate the guy because you're like, hey man, this guy's he's got the gold medal. He got it all, right?
And he's from the other side of the pond.
From the other side of the pond. He said, man, I want to hate the man and think that he isn't what he is. But you talk about a great matchup. So the thing about, not to discount Deontay Wilder, what makes me love Deontay Wilder is his temperament.
Yeah.
And it's his mindset. And so it's the same sort of force when you think about it, Anthony, Joshua, and they're both dedicated in their ways to who they are and how they even come to be heavyweight champions of the world with different belts, and why we're all sort of we're all salivating at this chance to see those two.
They're just marinating this thing, so which is
As
makes
they
sense
should.
because there is a lot of money to be made, and they call it prize fighting for a reason.
Right.
Don't give it away.
Explain that to the audience because about the prize. The best quote I can think of is when Floyd Mayweather says, "It's called prize. It's called prize fighting dummies.
Yeah,
we fighting for a prize.
Mm-hmm.
When they would give him criticism for waiting for the money.
Right.
So,
Well, when you fight for a prize, of course, in this case, it's money.
Right.
And usually the guy who wins gets the most. But now they sign the contract so that they have the agreement beforehand who's going to get the most, who can command the audience. For example, if Mayweather, if Errol is able to get this match with Manny, of course Manny is the guy who's going to command the most money because he's got the reputation. But basically, it's prize fighting. You have to remember that at the end of the day, that's what you're fighting for. You don't fight for free. That's why when if you got somebody and you train them well, you train them to understand it's a business, and you got to get ready for the match. You don't have to go out and when you confront the guy, it's just for the public image. But you don't have to be disrespectful to him and disrespect his family, because if that's what it takes to motivate you, you're in trouble.
Right.
You don't need all the stuff these guys are doing. They don't have to do that stuff. Like I tell my guys, when they get in the ring, they already slapped your mother. It's time to go. You don't have to do nothing else. You don't have to say nothing negative to you. It's business, and when it's over with, you guys can go out to dinner. It's all right.
One of the things I loved about last night's fight was actually Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence were really respectful during the whole press tour, and it made you. Maybe some people are looking for drama or whatever, but if you're a boxing fan and you've been a fan of both these guys, sometimes it's tough to pick who you're rooting for. It made you like tied into the fact that, okay, like I love both these guys. They're both, whoever wins this fight's gonna come out and like his career's gonna propel even further. And it was great. It was great to see that sportsmanship throughout.
Right. Well, that's why, sometimes you want to be amused by people doing a lot of talking. What Ali did was a little bit different than what these guys do. And to see Errol Spence and the guys that I've been around, Sean Porter and all the other guys, with the attitude and approach they have, the demeanor, they're guys of character. Like when Errol got in the ring and called out Errol got in the ring when Sean fought brother.
Yeah.
They didn't get into a confrontation, start cussing at each other.
No, it was real respect.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't. And when the heavyweights did it, they didn't do it like that. They didn't start talking about each other crazy. When George Foreman and Ali, they talk crazy. Like, well, I'm going to do this and that, but it wasn't none of this stuff that you see today.
Who
was
did
funny
Tevin
was-
Farmer just fight?
John O'Carroll, Irish
Carroll.
guy.
So one cool thing they showed
Yeah.
that those two went and
They
got
were
a-
heated- they were
they
heated
went and
at the
got
press
a Philly
conference.
cheesesteak sandwich.
Afterwards.
the
Afterwards.
following day, yeah.
But this is the kind of things that, even when they're getting into it with each other all throughout the press conference, which they did, hey,
You know what? I
after
think
they-
John O'Carroll might have been trying a little too hard to follow a Mayweather blueprint.
Yeah. Well, I
Obviously,
great
obviously
interest.
never. I'm sorry, not a Mayweather blueprint, McGregor blueprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if
In
saw-
a fight where
if
he's
you saw-
going over to America, and he thought he's gonna play the whatever, play
Yeah,
that
he got-
villain,
yeah, he got
and
the role.
it didn't work. But
Yeah.
it was good to see them going out for a cheesesteak the next day. It was really
Good.
fun. I saw it on their
If-
Instagram and stuff.
Well, if you saw Terrence Crawford, for example, and Errol Spence at somebody's fight in Oklahoma City somewhere, and they were talking to each other, and they were, I can do this, and they just dog woofing at each other, but they never crossed the line. They talked to each other, and then at the end, they said, okay, man, I'll see you later.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Terrence
That's what it's
Crawford
all
had one of
about.
the best.
It's all that other stuff, man.
They're talking about basketball, like when
Yeah,
they
I
could
can
beat
get you
you.
1-on-1. I put money down on it. That's what it's all about. Just,
Right. You gotta love
there's
it
no sense
too.
in going
Yeah,
through all that
yeah.
other stuff, man. You got kids watching it. That's not what you want to teach them.
These are the alpha males of the alpha males, especially these champions.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they'll probably bet with quarters against the wall.
Oh, yeah.
They're
Yep.
gonna lose their mind over playing quarters. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good approach. It's enjoyable to see that it doesn't have to end up with somebody going to a bar and breaking the bottle over somebody's head and all that.
Yeah,
That's not what we watch it for,
Your time in Compton right now with the Youth Athletic League, I know that you do this for free. You've been doing this for free. You want to speak on that? Or?
Well, yes, I'd like to speak on that. Well, we'd like to get some more young boxers in the program if we could. It's a slow process when you're competing with skating and music. I'm happy about the music part and all the other things. They got a lot of good things going, archery and all that stuff going for the kids, and it's really good. But my goal is to be able to go and help out and try to, at the end of the day, boxing is just a means to an end. You're going to get a lot of belts. That's great. Nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, it's nice to see a young fellow walk through the door with his son and daughter in his hands, and he's a good parent, and the community is better off because of it. Mm-hmm. He has a job taking care of his wife and his kid. That to me is a champion. I got quite a few of those here in Long Beach and other places now. I'd love to have some more champions. I was talking to my McElroy today. I called him. I found a picture of us at the Olympic Festival in 1985 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Mm-hmm. Of course, I had hair then, and we're both a little younger. And I sent it to him I said, he's going to call me. Sure enough, he called me about 2 minutes later. I thought that was hilarious. But it's all about his kids are all grown, and he's grandfather now. And, I remember him being on the Wide World of Sports, and he told, was it Chet Forty or somebody who was interviewing him, he said if it wasn't for boxing, he'd be in jail. He'd be in prison probably.
There's
Like his older brother was.
There's a lot of people like that too.
And
right?
when you can help young people to be able to grow up, that is really what it's all about. Boxing is the means to it. You're going to have some guys who are going to be champions, and the neat thing about it is all the guys in the gym will always be friends with the guy who's champion, and they'll know him, and that's good. But at the end of the day, they'll go on and become good family people. And our job as coaches is we have to understand is to help the parents to raise the kids, because when they're away from the parents, we still have to tell them to do what's right when it comes down to it. So just creating good citizens and hopefully we can get a few champions in the same vein. It's important if we can do it, but we want to see them have a chance to grow up and not end up in jail somewhere. I spent 30 years working in the system in the youth authority, and I saw a lot of people come through the door, never got an education. And today, when you can get your kids to graduate from high school and go on to college, that's a plus. If you just graduate from high school, get a job, and take care of business, and be a responsible citizen, that's the ultimate thing. And to go on further is just great. It's icing on the cake. So that's what it's about for me. And in Compton, I had an experience. I didn't tell you this. Back in 1983, one of the young fellows that I coached who came out of the youth authority, Michael T. Jones, lived in Long Beach. He went to a party on April 1st, and as a matter of fact, I had just told him to stay away from parties. And his friend took him over to Compton, and he was at a party, got stabbed, and ran off and hid and died from internal bleeding. Mm-hmm. And I tried to stay out of Compton too much after that. I had a lot of good friends in Compton, but it was hard for me to go there. It's been a lot of years. And when they called me about working over there, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go over there. And the Lord just kind of directed me to be disciplined and go over, to be obedient and go. So I went, and the sheriff department over there embraced me. I realized it's where I need to be, helping out, and come across some pretty good kids that I have the opportunity to guide. And so I'm glad that I'm doing it. And it's amazing. I hadn't gone by the police department, so I went by to identify the body of the kid that I lost, in that situation. So I think, and I think Michael is happy about that I'm doing it. So I'm glad that I have a chance to do that, and good officers and staff to work with makes it fun.
The officers are there during the sparring.
Oh yeah, they come, they watch.
Yeah, they watch.
It's a plus. It's a positive program.
It's also community policing that we want more to happen in these communities.
Yeah.
We have an officer that comes by Jackrabbits all the time from Long Beach Police Department. Officer Jason.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I used to run the program in Long Beach. I ran the PAL program for almost 20 years, and still have some great relationships today with the police department. And it was a great experience, and it's nice when the guys come by. I just wish they would start a program again, because so many kids end up in the system. The money could be better spent in the community to help kids to direct them in the right area in the first place, rather than having to deal with them when they're in the system, because it costs a whole lot of money to put somebody in jail.
What would the people need to do? Write their congressman? Or?
I think that talking to you, dealing with your, talking to your city council person about, providing a program. Like here's the deal. When you look at right near you is Hawaiian Gardens. They got a program.
Right.
They got a program where coaches are getting almost $20 an hour and getting medical and all that kind of stuff. And they're paying them to run the program. And down the road further, there are other facilities, City of Commerce, they got a program. And even Maywood is doing something. They used to have a program. They're doing something a little different now. They provide a facility where the county gave some money to help out there. And all around East LA, the sheriff department, the county rather, has got a program over the Eddie Heredia. They're running a program. But Long Beach they got the sailing program and other programs, but they're not doing anything for boxing.
They got a sailing program in Long Beach, no boxing.
I remember when we were at the city council and they gave an award to somebody for sailing. They didn't even recognize us, and we had two guys who won the National Silver Gloves.
Right.
But boxing isn't important to them, and you got to understand what's happening. Boxing is not a part of the scholastic program in America. It used to be, because there are champions, guys who want to become champions, who said the only reason they went to school is because they had boxing. But we are not pushing it to be a part of it, and so people can just go on campus and fight and have race riots, and they don't even, it's like it didn't happen. They cover it up like it's not happening and stuff. But it would be nice to have a boxing program and have it part of the scholastic.
Yeah, something you spoke on right there, which is something that you would only know if you lived or from LA. So if anybody's watching the podcast that's not from Los Angeles, that a lot of race riots are cracking off at the high schools. I don't know frequently, but they don't talk about it.
Of course not. It's safe not to. And it's they wouldn't be talking about the cheating unless somebody caught them.
Right.
And if it was happening in a different way, they'd be talking about it. But they're not going to talk about it now because they're not willing to deal with it. We just put sweep problems under the rug and don't talk about it.
When we talking about the cheating, we're talking about Oh, the people in Newport Beach and was Operation Varsity Blues.
All the rich families that
Well,
are
it's not just
driving
Newport
250.
Beach.
Yeah, I was
It's all over the country.
90,000 kids. 90,000
It's all
kids.
over the country.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
9,000?
90,000.
90,000?
the thing is, you hate to see anybody end up in jail behind
Been
stuff
doing it
like
for
that.
30 years.
You hope that they can find a way to deal with this, because if you ever been in trouble, if you've never been in trouble, you don't want to wish anybody any bad luck. Even if they are in trouble, you hope that things work out and can be resolved in a humane way, because in the situation, the goal of trying to make things better for your kid and going about it the wrong way is what we have a real tendency in America to do when it comes down to Little League baseball, Pop Warner football. We're fighting in the stands, thinking we're making it better. We're trying to force the coach to play our kid more and all that stuff. And it's unfortunate that we're going about it like that. But you just hope that in this instance that they can find a way to deal with this without it just devastating families. Because at the end, it's funny how we want to fight at the border to make sure parents can stay with their kids. And as I see it, life in America, when people go to prison, their kids are not with them.
Right.
So I don't understand. We just don't seem to be quite getting it right. Somehow there's some confusion about the way we're doing things. But
Well, we're not having awkward conversations that need to happen in society.
Yeah.
And because there's no consciousness there is there's no conversations like this that are happening.
Yeah.
That you can't just point out something that's very obvious, which is, when people are being incarcerated, families are being torn apart every day. And there's a mass incarceration epidemic that's happening in the United States that's been happening via the prison industrial complex.
Exactly.
So
yeah. I mean, when you look at the very people that we've supported, every time an election comes to hand us a thing who voted, who came up with the program to incarcerate people.
Right.
The people that we put in office.
I mean,
they're
this
the ones that are doing it.
people
So,
too that you think, like the Clintons, for example, not to badmouth them, but I mean them being very, very adamant about being stricter on crime, even more so than Bush Sr. was at that time, creating policies or getting behind policies like the 3 strikes and surging the incarceration rates that we saw in the last 2 decades. But it's men like you that are on the front line, and men like you that are on the front line, and people that are involved in these gyms and these communities that are making a difference. But you guys obviously need help, all right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
What is the call to action for the audience? What is the ask? How can people get involved, or if you haven't?
Well, the one thing I say is that for us Americans, especially in our community, we need people to be willing to volunteer more, to find out what's going on and how they can help. It would be easy to say to give some money to the gym, but that's not the only solution. You can't give money to a program and turn your back on it. You got to support the program. Come support the program. When they have an event here, come and support it and find out what you can do, how you can be involved, and mentor some kids.
Signing to be a coach is not that hard to learn along the way. If you coach some kids, kid boxing clubs.
Well, sign up with the
volunteers.
USA Boxing program, get registered. We need referees and judges.
You need someone giving someone water at the gym, or putting the mouthpiece.
You need someone sweeping the sweat.
You need actually every part.
Emptying the spit bucket.
Mopping it, You
don't have to be a boxing wizard.
If they know construction, if they can help out to repair the place, it would be paint the place. I mean, there would be. There's a lot of things that can be done.
We see these young men
especially having women come to the gym now is important, because we got girls involved, and we need women to be involved, because we have now the program with the Olympic Committee has gotten to the point where they have what they call a safe sports program, and you can't, even with the kids, you can't take a kid on the trip and stay in the room with him, certainly not her, because it's not acceptable anymore because of the wave of improper behavior that we've started to exhibit in our society in terms of sexual assaults and stuff. So you need people involved to volunteer, to help out, to be a part of things, to protect kids and make sure that they're safe, so that the coach can do his job or her job as a coach and not have to do all the other stuff. Yeah. So I think it's important for people to realize they don't have to coach. They can just be involved in supporting the kid and watching them grow up and graduate from high school and get a life, go to college or whatever. So it's just so many opportunities to get involved and help out. You don't necessarily have to coach.
I was going to say, having adults here, when things are going to happen with the kids, a kid might cry, kid might be second guessing himself, and just having positive affirmation there. Just say, hey, you know, it's all right.
Well,
relax.
Absolutely.
It'll
And
be okay.
the main thing for young people is for somebody that act to show that, one, they care, two, they're going to tell them right.
Right.
Too many people around kids will go along with what they're doing. And no one needs you to help them to fail. They need you to help them to succeed. And sometime in that process, it means they may not like you for a minute because you don't agree with them. But when you tell them right, if not today, some years from now, they'll come back and tell you, wow, might say thank you, because they realized they would have gotten in trouble. So we need people that are willing to step up to the plate in the neighborhood and make it better, because the politicians are not going to make it better. We keep putting them in office and look at the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that tells you that your friend is not the guy you send into Washington or to Sacramento, because there are potholes in the road and we keep paying more tax money.
Right.
So that's not, we can't worry about, we got our children that we can help and support, and you know, when they come through the door, have staff that we've got a plan for them, and we're gonna make sure we keep them safe and let them have a pretty good time when they come to the gym, and teach them right at the end of the day, so that you're giving them the same kind of positive feedback that the parents are when they go back home. They ain't gonna be no different. And when they do wrong, don't hide it from the parents. I've seen coaches hide things from the parents. It's not good coaching.
Yeah, it's not good
you know, because then the kid ended up eventually getting in trouble because nobody corrected him. They didn't correct him, and they don't allow the parents to correct them. And you take them on trips and have them running all through the hotel, getting in trouble and all that stuff. That's not what this is about. So we need people to get involved to help the kids.
This is one of the last things I want to ask, and probably before we wrap up, is we're going to ask Ivan. With your son Ashton, so what is?
Proud dad over there.
Yeah.
He's blushing over there.
Yeah.
Proud dad.
So everyone wants to know, you know, where do you see Ashton in the next 4 years? So is that Olympic bound? Is that 12-0? Is that 15-0? Is that with a title? We know he's a special kid. Where would you like to see him in the next 4 or 5 years?
Well, we're not rushing anything. As far as the Olympics, what I would like him to be in college in the next 4 years.
You have a daughter at Cal Berkeley right now,
Yes.
so the audience that doesn't know.
Yes.
Right.
She's doing great.
Yeah.
You know, Ashton, same route. I definitely want him to go to college to graduate. He wants to go to college to graduate. You know, so whether he goes to the Olympics, whether he goes to the pros, he'll be in college.
Yeah, be in college.
He'll definitely be in college.
Yeah, you can do both.
Yeah,
You got it.
definitely. And
Ashton's in honors. I know this because I work with Ashton, but you know,
Yeah, he's in
for the
honors
people, he's
classes.
not just a kid he's not just one of these athletes that's excelling here in the gym. He's also excelling in the classroom.
yes,
So.
he's in honors classes. He also is a football player.
Yeah.
You know,
So he'll be starting on varsity next year for world famous Long Beach Poly.
yes,
Which has created the most NFL football players in the nation as a high school. So
And
this is-
athletes.
and athletes
And scholars.
and scholars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is literally for the audience that doesn't know, we're next to two icons here, next to VIP Records, and we could throw a tennis ball from where we're sitting right now, you know, to VIP Records. And I don't know if I could. We could have Ashton throw a tennis ball over to Long Beach Poly, which is right across the street.
across the street.
So that's where we're situated right now.
Right in the heart.
Yeah.
But you know, it's up to him, really. It's up to him. If they're not putting the headgear back on in the Olympics,
Yeah, the IEBA took away the headgears in 2012.
might as well go pro.
Might as well, especially
Might as well go
with the
pro.
chance of getting cuts.
Yeah.
Not to stir the pot and then kind of close it on this. When you see a young fighter like Little Future on Instagram, getting some of the accolades that he's getting, knowing that he, as far as I know, has had no success in the national title, definitely has never been in any sort of international scene, that perhaps might not even as one is a local boxing show, but that, you know, here's a young man. Was it Jameer Roberts? What's his name?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I believe something like that.
And it's sad to say I don't know his name. I don't know his name because
Have you heard?
Who is this?
Little Future.
What is this?
Jameer Roberts.
Is he on the national team?
No.
No, exactly. So this is
He's a
no
social
idea who
media
he's
star, I think.
He's a
is
social-
what
I don't know.
we
Who
get
it
to.
is. No, I don't know who it is.
So it's hard for all of us that are involved in boxing with a guy like this, that we know that it's getting he's getting a spotlight. And this is me just being completely honest, and not seeing him up against the level of competition that we know Ashton has seen and so forth. Is this because of this age of social media and kids getting a nod without having the successes and not checking the right boxes, and this kind of throw you off a little bit to see that?
Time will tell.
Like
Time will tell. I don't.
Distaste,
I mean, I know.
I'll say it leaves a distaste for me.
Yeah, I know. I've heard a lot of amateurs and amateur coaches, and a lot of have a distaste about that. I don't know what their plans are. Maybe they have a master plan of getting to the pros and doing good, but I think the amateur boxing is the purest form of boxing, and I think that you definitely need to take that route and take full advantage of it to get to the pros and do well in the pros. I don't know of too many boxers that did very well in the pros.
Well, I think you see the divide. Like I said, as good as Mikey is, as good as he was last night, going against a world-class boxer who has been, had his skills challenged coming through the amateurs all the way to the international level. He's going to be facing somebody a little bit different, especially somebody with talent. As talented, and Mikey is talented, but you could see without the size some of the differences last night. Where was it? He was quick and fat. He figured he'd be faster than Errol. He wasn't. Yeah. So you can see that the polish can't be beat. It's like to say that you wash your car and you polished it, or you just washed it.
Yeah, I only bring it up because of pedigree, like something we mentioned earlier. I know Ryan Garcia, another fighter that's gotten a lot of accolades via social media. He's a good-looking kid. He's got a great charisma to him. He's a personality and so forth. I personally superstar personality. I personally didn't think much of him. That's just me being honest. I do think that, of course, with time, he's a great athlete. He's got if he gets the right people behind him, he could refine his craft. And perhaps
I'm glad he's over there with.
I'm glad that he's with
Reynoso. I think
which I've expressed before, that he can go on and if he's dedicated to his craft, disciplined and diligent, in 2 or 3 years. But even looking at Ryan Garcia, he's still a kid that I know that won the Adidas, tournament, or won local tournaments, or did pretty good on the national scene. I don't know if he won the nationals, but
he didn't box in the open class, in the senior class. Now, matter of fact, Ryan's last national win was when he was with me at the Silver Glove.
Okay.
And then
that's right. You trained Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, I did.
Oh man,
I didn't want to bring that up.
I'll drop the ball that you were trained. Okay, yeah.
I trained Ryan Garcia, Floyd Mayweather, all those guys.
Right.
Floyd on the national team too. Yeah.
So with Ryan, so seeing Ryan, obviously, I'm being very honest about what I'm expressing here. I do think if Ryan stays dedicated to his craft, that in the next couple of years he can end up, doing something. I don't think that he should walk himself necessarily into a match with someone like Gervonta Davis right now.
He's not going to get Gervonta.
Yeah.
They just talk. You talk. You got what they do today is they go on social media and hype it up and talk it up and stuff. And I'm sure their management team is smart enough not to allow him to walk into a match with Gervonta Davis,
right?
Unless they don't care about him, and I think they do care about him. They're investing a lot of money in him. I'm so proud of him and what he's accomplishing, and I hope that he's allowed them to guide him and that he stay with the coach and learn, because one of the drawbacks with Ryan was that he thought he knew enough and he didn't need things. Then when he got in tough situations, all he would do was hold because he didn't know how to handle it.
We've seen that with some of the sparring that's come out with Raleigh.
Yeah. That was my main concern with him, is that he'd be willing to learn. He wasn't willing to learn.
I only bring it up because in 2019 it is different because of the social media platforms and just generally talking to the audience and, obviously just being very honest about it, that you can have someone that's getting momentum but doesn't necessarily have the pedigree and doesn't have the success that we're seeing in these tournaments and so forth.
Right.
And a guy like Little Future, I know that his name gets mentioned a lot with your son. And
you see it all on.
I don't. Come on, man. And not to say that Little Future can't turn out to something. But in order to get my stamp,
we don't want to spar over 15-year-olds at this point.
Yeah, well, I think we do with these kids. They both got 100,000 followers each.
Yeah, but that's all good.
The advertising, you don't get. Let's just be real. Let's just be honest.
You don't get this kind of publicity in boxing that you get in other sports. So it's okay that they blow it up.
Yeah.
The only thing is, Ashton has to stay on track.
Right.
And don't worry about him, because if he's got that kind of following, when the time comes, hopefully he'll still have them, because Ashton's going to have a lot of fans if they ever box. That's the bottom line at the end of the day.
The world is different today, where before you would as a promoter, as you know, a Bob Arum or a Don King, your job would be to promote this guy, show the world his talents.
Right.
When Ashling's time comes, he has built his following. He has built his fan base. People will know. So that's exciting for the future, and it changes the game completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Today you promote yourself.
Yeah.
Look at Devin Haney.
Yeah.
So I think
He done promoted himself on social media. He don't need a promoter.
Right.
Right.
You know.
So I think everyone watching and listening tonight should check out the young guys we've been talking about. Ivan, do you want to share any plugs for anyone to follow, both either the gym or?
They can follow
Yep.
on Instagram, LB Jackrabbit Boxing, and they can also follow Ashton Silve at Superman Silve. Silve is spelled SYLVE.
And Coach, is there anything you'd like, any calls to action for the audience?
Actually, you know, I certainly would like to have people come, and we'd like to get some more boxers. Ideally, we'd like to get some of the athletes that are in high school sports to come and box and understand that less than 1% of the boxers or the athletes in sports actually are participating in the NFL and the NBA and baseball. And you give yourself a chance to be able to be successful like Floyd Mayweather and make millions of dollars in 45 minutes or less, where you wouldn't make that much in your career as a top athlete in other sports. So you learn how to box. Come learn how to box. Come on over to the YL. Come to Jackrabbit. Learn how to box. And who knows? You might find yourself competing for a spot in the Olympic Games. You never know. You know, if you're a two-sport athlete, it takes away the chances of you getting hurt from repetitive motion. It also gives you a chance to build confidence, and especially being in boxing and condition yourself in a way that you've never been in shape. Because football is an explosive power sport where you only go for 5 seconds, and if you learn how to do boxing, you'll do it for a whole 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And if you're younger, you'll do it for 1 minute, and you'll learn how to defend yourself. You'll learn some stuff that can help you in your other sports. And when you get older, you can make a decision. If boxing is working well for you and you win a national championship and you can find yourself as one of the best people, you can go maybe give yourself a shot at the Olympic Games or becoming a world champion. If the other sport doesn't work out for you, like I said, it's less than 1% of the people are going to make it. Give yourself a chance by becoming a two-sport athlete. You can do boxing as something you do just to keep yourself in shape during your off season and make a great difference in your life.
And worst case scenario, you don't make it to those top accolades, but you become a good citizen, and you are the example of what you were hoping to see. Is
right.
You could bring your kids to the gym, and a generation later, and you're just
you might say that man, I know Ashton Silve's on a first-hand basis. Or you can do like me and say, man, I remember when I was working with Floyd Mayweather at the World Championship, he's the richest guy I know. I was standing in the corner with Andre Ward, and I worked with him in the Olympic Games and watch him win a gold medal, and he's the richest guy I know. Or something where you might have gotten someone in the sport who won a gold medal. It's hard to say. Just to say that you know somebody like it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So it's a great feeling, and you know, you can have a lot of fun with it. You know, so I would certainly encourage it. And if they're interested, I do boxing. Josie at AOL.com is my contact, and Coach Joe ZANDERS .com is my website. Compton YL is at come to 300 East Elm Street, Compton, 90221. We look forward to having you over there. We train in the morning at 9 for those who are out of school, and for the ones that are in school, we train at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday through Friday, and we go at 8 o'clock on Saturdays when we don't have competition. So we would certainly look forward to you. And I know that here at the Jackrabbit program, they'd be looking for you. Seem like I don't want to give Ivan's hours away, because it seems like every time I come, he's here. I don't know if he ever go home. But he's running a great program. So yeah. This is a great program to come and participate in and be a part of too.
Well, we'd like to thank you not only for what you're doing for the sport of boxing, for the community and for the youth, but also thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your knowledge with us today. And we had a good time, so I really appreciate you being on the show. And anyone who's watching, please subscribe to the show, both on iTunes, Spotify, or on the YouTube channel. If you like the show, please leave us a review and tell a friend about it. You could also, not only might you spread our show, but you might be spreading the love of boxing with somebody, so that'd be really cool to do. Thanks Thanks so much.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, go for it.
USA Select.
USA Select. Where can they find
We-
information on USA Select?
Instagram.
Instagram.
Follow USA Select Boxing on Instagram. We're planning a camp coming up soon. So if you follow USA Select Boxing on Instagram, you'll find out when our camp is coming up. We're also traveling this
We'll all be traveling as trainers together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Right on.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in.